Merhabalar. Bir hafta aradan sonra yeniden karşınızdayız. Her hafta olduğu gibi yine ülkenin ifade özgürlüğü gündemini sizler için takip edip kayıt altına almaya çalıştık. İşte geçtiğimiz 7 günde bizim eleğimizin üstünde kalanlar.
The police intervened against the Istanbul Medical Chamber members who wanted to lay a wreath at the Atatürk Monument in Taksim due to March 14th, Medicine Day. Physicians protested the situation by laying wreaths at the police barricade.
7 members of the Socialist Solidarity Platform who wanted to make a statement on Istiklal Street in Istanbul were beaten and detained by the police.
The protest ban implemented in Van since 2016 is maintained by the governorate. Van governorate issued another protest and demonstration ban on the pretext of providing national security and imposed the civil administration permission requirement for demonstration marches, open-air meetings, and all kinds of protests and events for 15 days starting from March 15th.
3 separate investigations have been launched against the lawyer of Dedeoğulları family, Abdurrahman Karabulut, after the family was repeatedly harassed on the grounds of being Kurdish in Konya's Meram district and was killed in the attack against their house on July 30, 2021. In the investigations opened by the Konya Chief Public Prosecutor's Office, the lawyer's tweets and statements about the case were considered crimes. Karabulut said, "I told Süleyman Soylu was a Minister of Criminal Affairs. I said that the state is responsible for the massacre." In addition, 3 investigations were opened regarding the statements I made to the press about the massacre. I stand behind all these statements I have made. You did not protect the family despite our warnings. You will give account for it.
An investigation was launched against Veli Saçılık, one of the symbolic figures of the protests against the statutory decrees due to his social media posts. Saçılık is accused of making propaganda for a terrorist organization for his post, "Alevism is the way of 40s, not races. We are the garden, we have the rose, we have the 72 languages," and for announcing that the daughter of poet Gülten Akın was dismissed from public service with a statutory decree.
People's Democratic Party, Hatay Women's Assembly, hung a poster on the window of the party's Iskenderun district building in solidarity with People's Democratic Party parliament member Semra Güzel, whose immunity was lifted and became the subject of an investigation. Within the scope of the investigations launched against Şahin with the allegation of praising the crime and the criminal, the Iskenderun Chief Public Prosecutor's Office emphasized that there is no final court decree about Güzel and issued a verdict of non-prosecution.
As part of an investigation launched by the Diyarbakır Chief Public Prosecutor's Office in 2021, many women, including trade union members, civil society activists and politicians were detained. Within the scope of the investigation, in which detainment warrants were issued for 24 women, the president of Rosa Women's Association, Adalet Kaya, was detained. The association, which has been operating in Diyarbakır since 2018, has been subjected to systematic judicial harassment since 2020, while its directors and members have been detained and arrested in 2 consecutive years of police raids.
An investigation was launched against the citizens who marched in Eskişehir on February 12 to protest the electricity price increases. Citizens who participated in the protest, which was prevented by the police, were summoned to the police stations to testify.
The police intervened against the protest of university students in Ankara at Kızılay subway station against a 44% increase in public transportation fees. As a result of the police intervention, many university students were detained.
Media and Legal Studies Association shared its report on 49 journalism and freedom of expression cases that followed in February. Terrorism accusations such as propaganda and terrorist organization membership constituted more than 42% of the charges imposed against defendants in the aforementioned lawsuits filed against 409 people. News, articles, photographs in 25, and social media posts in 21 of the 49 cases followed were cited as criminal evidence. In all of the 5 different lawsuits filed on the charge of insulting the president, the evidence of crime was news, articles, and social media posts. In 4 of the concluded cases, 2 journalists were sentenced to 1 year, 6 months, and 22 days in prison for making propaganda for a terrorist organization, and 1 writer was sentenced to 6 years and 3 months for terrorist organization membership. In addition, a journalist was sentenced to a judicial fine of 7,080 Turkish liras for insulting a public official.
New memoranda were sent to the presidency of the Assembly against 9 parliament members, including 8 People's Democratic Party members and 1 Republican People's Party member.
The Constitutional Court has ruled on 2 violations of law on misdemeanors, which the police frequently resort to prevent the use of freedom of expression. The court ruled that imposing fines on members of the Construction Workers Union for violating the law of misdemeanor due to distributing an environment through hanging posters and press statements was a violation of the principle of legality of penalties. In one of the applications, the court ruled that the police prevention against the workers' statements about their salaries was a violation of the right to meeting and demonstration.
The Constitutional Court ruled that the 3-day official advertisement ban against Cumhuriyet Daily on the grounds that a phrase used by Erdogan for a farmer in Mersin was used in a column during President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's prime ministry was a violation of freedom of expression and press. The court ordered the local court to eliminate the violation.
The website of Etkin News Agency has been banned with a decree issued by Diyarbakır 4th Criminal Court of Peace. With the decree, the agency's website was censored for 6th time in 2022 and for the 35th time in total.
Complaint was filed against President of the Turkish Medical Association, Professor Şebnem Korur because of a YouTube program she participated in. In the statement made by the Turkish Medical Association on the subject, the statement made to the public by specifying the name is not only exceptional, but the announcement that a criminal complaint has been made reveals the aim of establishing a sentence and executing it. It should also be known that efforts to damage the prestige of our association through actions taken against our president with accusation that have no legal basis are futile, and we will not give up on our struggle for the right to health and labor.
14 people, including 4 women, were detained in Izmir due to their social media posts. It was alleged that the detainees were making propaganda for a terrorist organization on social media.
The Constitutional Court ruled with an unanimous decree that the dismissal of teacher Ali Kush, a member of the Freedom and Solidarity Party, without allowing him a reasonable time to resign from his party membership was a violation of his right to organization.
Gelelim haftanın adliye mesaisine. Bu hafta takip ettiğimiz davalarda gelen beraat kararları her ne kadar bizleri mutlu etse de madalyonun diğer yüzünde aslında değişen hiçbir şey yok.
Journalist and writer Zekine Türkeri, who was accused of making propaganda for a terrorist organization on the grounds of her social media posts, was sentenced to 1 year, 6 months, and 22 days in prison by the Istanbul 13th Assize Court.
6 citizens from Fatsa Ünye Nature Conservation Platform who were convicted of violating the law on meetings and demonstrations number 2911 due to the marches and protests against the gold mine in Fatsa district of Ordu were acquitted in the retrial at the Fatsa 3rd Criminal Court of First Instance after the violation decree issued by the Constitutional Court.
The trial of the Confederation of European Alevi Union's founding president Turgut Öker, who was charged with insulting the president because of a speech at a rally in Germany in 2015, continued at the Istanbul Anatolian 10th Criminal Court of First Instance. The next hearing will be held on September 22.
The lawsuit filed against artist Şenol Akdağ, who was detained during the police raid against his house in November 2020 and arrested for giving a concert under a terrorist flag and banner, and was imprisoned for 3 months within the scope of the file, resulted in his acquittal of the charge of making propaganda for a terrorist organization at the Istanbul 34th Assize Court.
People's Democratic Party one provincial co-chair, Handan Karakoyun, who was accused of insulting and public incitement towards hatred and enmity on the grounds of a social media post regarding the attack against the People's Democratic Party Izmir provincial building and the killing of party employee Deniz Poyraz, was acquitted in the lawsuit filed against her at the 1/7th Assize Court.
7 women, including Van Tusba co-mayor Ayşe Minaz, Muradiye co-mayor Leyla Balkan, and People's Democratic Party İpek Yolu District co-chair Canan Uzunay, were acquitted in the lawsuit filed against them due to calling for participation in the protest march to be held in Van after the ruling decree to withdraw from the Istanbul Convention. Within the scope of the case heard at the Van 5th Criminal Court of First Instance, the women were charged with organizing, leading and participating in illegal meetings and demonstrations, for sharing the video they prepared as a call for the march to be held on April 10, 2021 on social media.
79-year-old peace mother Meryem Soylu, who was prosecuted on charges of terrorist organization membership within the scope of the investigation launched against the Association for Assistance, Solidarity, Unity and Culture with Families who have lost their relatives, was sentenced to 6 years and 3 months in prison.
In the lawsuit filed against Azadiya Velat daily journalist Çetin Kurşun, which was previously shut down with a statutory decree on charges of making propaganda for a terrorist organization for allegedly being the founder of the website named Diwan News, the court decided to combine the file with another file in the same court against the journalist on charge of terrorist organization membership. The 3-year prison sentence given to Kurşun for making propaganda for a terrorist organization was overturned by the appeal court decree, and the Gaziantep Regional Court of Justice 3rd Criminal Chamber demanded that Kurşun be tried on charge of terrorist organization membership.
Journalist Ertürk Yılmaz, who was detained in December 2021 due to a secret witness statement against him, was acquitted in the lawsuit filed against him at the Izmir 15th Assize Court on the charge of making propaganda for a terrorist organization.
The lawsuit filed against Republican People's Party Diyarbakır Provincial Deputy Chairman Mahmut Aziz Uysal on the charge of insulting the president for a cartoon he shared on his social media account in 2018 resulted in his acquittal.
The first hearing of the lawsuit filed against Dutch journalists Olaf Koens and Pepi Nakzam, who were detained in Edirne while following the refugee movement on the Turkish-Greek border last September, was held at the Edirne 5th Criminal Court of First Instance. The trial of journalists who are charged with violating the law number 2565 on military forbidden zones and security areas will continue on May 12th.
The latest hearing of the lawsuit filed against Bir Gün Daily's policy editor Mehmet Emin Kurnaz was held at Istanbul 2nd Criminal Court of First Instance on charges of insulting the president and insulting a public official due to the Sunday supplement of the newspaper issue on May 23, 2021, titled The Power of the Gangs, which featured photographs of Recep Tayyip Erdoğan, Devlet Bahçeli, Alaaddin Çakıcı, and Sedat Peker. In the opinion of the prosecutor's office, the office demanded that the journalist be penalized on both charges. The next hearing will be held on September 8th.
The lawsuit filed against People's Democratic Party Diyarbakır Provincial Press Advisor Vedat Dağ continued at Diyarbakır 11th Assize Court on charge of terrorist organization membership and making propaganda for a terrorist organization on the grounds of participating in People's Democratic Party events that he followed up on, sharing the events on his social media account and secret witness statements. The next hearing was scheduled for April 13.
The latest hearing of the lawsuit filed against writer Gökhan Yavuzel was held at the Ankara 7th Criminal Court of First Instance on charges of public incitement towards resentment and enmity for an arts and culture column. The court decided for the arrest warrant issued against Yavuzel, who resides abroad, to remain and adjourn the case to June 28th.
Academic Hifzullah Kutum, who was accused of making propaganda for a terrorist organization on the grounds of social media posts containing the words Kurd and Kurdistan, was acquitted in the lawsuit filed against him at the Elazığ Second Assize Court.
The latest hearing of the lawsuit filed against Mesopotamia Culture and Art Association members Abdullah Ayav, Vesile Yüksel and Ruken Aslan was held at Mardin 3rd Assize Court on charges of making propaganda for a terrorist organization for singing in Kurdish at a children's festival organized in Nusaybin. Information about the outcome of the hearing was not yet available at the time the program was being broadcast.
Gezi ve Cumartesi anneleri davalarında hak savunucuları bir kez daha mahkemeye çıkacak. İstanbul Sözleşmesi'ni savunan kadınlar ve Boğaziçi öğrencileri de adliye koridorlarında olacak. Ve biz de duruşmaları takip etmeyi sürdüreceğiz. Sağlıcakla kalın.